Good morning, everyone. My name is Ron Tabor, Orange County Buddhist Church Minister Assistant. Today is Sunday, July 26th, the second of 7 summer services that will continue through August. Each session being presented by a different minister or minister assistant. We will start with sutra chanting, followed by a short Dharma talk titled Buddhist Wisdom for Unprecedented Times. We will chant the Juseige. If you have a service book, it is on page 39. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. 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 Gagon cho seigan ishimu jodo shigan fumanzo sei fujo shoga ga omuryoko fu idai seishu fu sai shobingu sei fujo shoga ga shijo butsudo myosho chojipo kukyo mi shomon sei fujo shoga ryokujin shonen jo eishu bongyo shigumu jodo isho tenishi jinriki and daiko fusho musaido shoujo sankumyo kosai shuyakunan kai chi eigen meishi komo an eiso kusho akudo zudatsu zen shumon koso jo manzo iorojipo nichigatsu shujuki tenko onfugen ishukai hozo kosei kudoku ho jodai shuchu seppo shishiku kuyo isai butsu Gusoku Shutoku Hon Ganeshi Tsujoman Toku I Songai O Niobutsu Mugechi Zudatsu Mi Fusho Gangaku Eri Toshi Sai Shoson Shiganya Koka Daisen Okando Koku Shotenin To Uchin Myoke Namanda Bu Namanda Bu Namanda Bu Namanda Bu Namanda Bu Namanda Bu Ganni Shikudoku Byodo Sei Sai Dohon Bodai Shin Ojo Arakotu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda. So thank you for chanting Juseige with me. I hope you enjoyed it. This morning, as you can see, the title is Buddhist Wisdom for Unprecedented Times. Now, I thought of this topic because of the times we are living in. And there are 4 concepts that have helped me to endure these times. Think about it, 4 months and counting since the pandemic turned our lives upside down. That's 4 months plus to endure home sheltering. I remember when I was working full-time, I used to always wish the weekend would never end, that it would last forever and ever. Are we happy now? The Dhammapada is the first concept that I would like to introduce to you. The Dhammapada is the religious teachings of the path on Buddhism. It consists of 26 chapters, 423 verses, and it contains the authentic teachings of the historical Buddha. It expresses the insight of the Buddha who suffered, practiced the way, experience transformation, and eventually receive liberation. In the words of the Vietnamese Zen monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, there is a Buddha in each of us. That is why we feel that the insights of the Buddha are also our own. When we read and contemplate the words, we touch seeds of understanding and love that are buried deep inside of us. Let us live our lives in harmony with the deep understanding brought to us by the wisdom of the words contained in the Dhammapada. I have chosen chapter 16, verse 2. Chapter 16 is titled The Pleasant. And to quote verse 2, it says, "Avoid attachment to both what is pleasant and what is unpleasant. Losing the pleasant causes grief. Dwelling on the unpleasant also causes grief." Now, I can interpret that as the pleasant was how we lived before the pandemic, and the unpleasant, to some of us, or maybe many of us, is how we feel we're living today. However, the Buddha cautions us that attaching to both the pleasant and the unpleasant causes grief. For when we yearn for the past and we cannot find it or we cannot have it, we become unsettled. And if we dwell on what is bothering us in the present, we also become unsettled. So that is chapter 16, verse 2, the pleasant. Avoid attachment to both what is pleasant and what is unpleasant. The second concept comes in the way of a tale, called the Tale of the Porcupines. This was put into verse by a longtime Orange County Buddhist Church member, Bob Bollander. He shares a blog of his poetry. And after one particular Dharma talk at Orange County Buddhist Church, pre-pandemic, I used this tale, and Bob liked it so much that he asked for a copy, and he posted it in verse. So follow along with me as I read A Tale of the Porcupines, retold in verse by Bob Bollander. The frigid winter was colder than ever. The porcupines, both young and old, were deeply concerned, for animal friends were dying because of the bitter cold. Therefore, they decided that it would behoove them all to form a close-knit group. Huddled together, they could keep one another warm. It seemed like a good idea at first, but then they agreed with unanimity that being so close was not working out. Their quills pricked porcupines in proximity. But later they learned that separated, they were worse off, for no denying, unable to keep one another warm, the freezing porcupines were dying. If they planned to survive the winter, they had to act, and so they decided that being banded together was more beneficial than being divided. And so they grouped together again, realizing that they could endure the little jabs from the other's quills, but they would survive the winter for sure. The moral, when we look at life and consider all our interconnections, it is best if we can learn to live with one another's imperfections. Another way to look at the story, life can be painful, but we should strive to put up with all the pricks in life if we truly want to survive. By Bob B., January 20th, 2020. Such an appropriate verse of words for the times we are living in, not just the pandemic, but the social unrest and the political unrest that is dividing our world and our society. The third and fourth concepts that I want to share with you are two worldviews used by the Japanese. Shikata ganai, or as some people say, shogunai, is a phrase meaning it cannot be helped or nothing can be done about it. Other translations include it can't be helped, it's inevitable, it's no use. This phrase is sometimes used in Japan to refer to when Japanese people as a whole must endure things that are beyond their control. WabiSabi is a concept that cherishes and values and treasures the old and the decaying. It looks at life from birth through death as one universal cycle. I remember someone saying that I can't do anything about birth and I can't do anything about death. It's what's in between that bothers me and concerns me. I think with Shikata ganai and WabiSabi, those two concepts can help guide us through our current social and pandemic crisis. And now, for the rest of this talk, I would like to focus on Shikata ganai and WabiSabi. So briefly reviewing Shikata ganai, or shogunai, that phrase is used to describe a situation that is beyond your control. Cannot be helped. It is absolute, authentic reality. Because we do not have control over all situations or events or discomforts in our lives. And if you're looking for a good contemporary word, it could be whatever. Think about what you don't have control over. The weather, the sun rising, the moon coming up, an invisible virus that suddenly has swept the world and devastated our economy and our way of life. We can grumble and complain about it and wish it weren't so. But I think it's better if we take a Shikata ganai attitude, admit that we can't do anything about it, and once we admit it, then we can move on and resolve the issue. I'd like to recall the first noble truth of the Buddha. Life is suffering, or dukkha. In the words of Dr. Carmela Javellana Hirano, a minister assistant and a psychotherapist at Salt Lake Buddhist Temple, she says, your pain is real. As Buddhists, we are aware that living this human life can be really tough. And that's why we go to our temples and bazaars so we can monku, complain to our Sangha friends. My little interjection, well, we used to be able to do that. And our complaints fall into any of these sufferings: birth, aging, illness, losing loved ones, being in the company of unpleasant people, not getting what we want, or conversely, getting what we do not want, the pain of constant changes in the mind and body, and then eventually death. Those are all good examples of events out of our control, or as the Japanese say, Shikata ganai. Now for WabiSabi. It's a very unique Japanese aesthetic that appreciates the beauty of imperfections. It is about embracing reality in all its manifestations. Could be crumbling, cracking, fading, even broken. It rebels against the expectations of being perfect, appropriate, or as we say nowadays, politically correct. It restores the right to be okay with mistakes and accidents and foolishness and stupidity. It's all about not being comfortable with imperfections, impermanence, incompleteness. And yet, it is somewhat optimistic, claiming that nothingness or emptiness can be full of possibilities. Now, when I started on what I call my formal Buddhist path at Orange County Buddhist Church, about 20 years ago, I expected that I would experience profound changes, and my life would be better and different, perhaps more spiritual. But becoming Buddhist did not profoundly change me, nor studying or listening to Dharma talks, nor imitating rituals like Gasho, Oshoko, chanting, meditation. Now, of course, being exposed to those core rituals and practices has given me a solid grounding in temple customs. But imitating other practitioners doing Buddhist practice has not profoundly changed me. But what is beginning to change is learning who I am by carefully reflecting at how my life and all its happenings are as they are, often without control, Shikata ganai maybe, and my imperfect, foolish personality flaws. WabiSabi maybe. To quote Reverend Guillaume Kubosi from his book, The Center Within, his essay called Awareness, Kubosi Sensei says, to learn Buddhism is to become aware of life, which means to become aware of oneself. To change one's life, regardless of how much we learn, unless your life changes, nothing is learned. It is just accumulated knowledge. When there is too much mind in our activities, we become artificial, and our lives do not flow smoothly. The little bits of knowledge or wisdoms that I have received from my path of Buddhism and from embracing a Shikata ganai and WabiSabi worldview have helped me to endure and appreciate, yes, appreciate our current pandemic crisis and what I and hopefully you can learn from it. Now, I urge you to search out an online essay, and please read it. It's by Marion Bremer, and it's dated April 15th, 2020. And the title, very simply, Teachings from COVID-19. I'd like to quote from that article. Corona holds a mirror that reflects our relationship with ourselves, with the earth, and with each other. and the broader systems we live in. I will now conclude with some thoughts from Dr. Carmela again. This is from her presentation on Jodo Shinshu, psychotherapy. She says, the essence of Buddhism, especially Shin Buddhism, is that faith or spiritual belief is not about everything turning out okay. It is about being okay, no matter how things turn out. We are human with flaws and cracks in our minds and bodies, but our wounds is where the light of wisdom and compassion can enter us. I think that's also a very good description of WabiSabi. Thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts with you. Please stay on the path as we continue to navigate through all the challenges facing our society and world. Now, you just do you, and I'll just do me, and that's okay. Just remember, be kind. Be kind. Ishtarmien Gasho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda.